So if you've been watching my channel at all within the last year, you've seen that we did a huge sound deadening project on this truck. We did Dynamat and Dynaliner, and I do have some extra left over, so that's what led us to this video. Now, one thing I noticed after sound deadening the whole cab, which was the roof, floor, doors, and back wall, is that a ton of noise comes in through the windows. And man, I mean, sometimes it almost feels like the windows are rolled down because that's how much noise is going through the glass. Toyota didn't do us any favors by using really thin glass, probably for weight savings. So we can never get around that. But I'm thinking that we can put some sound deadening material on the exterior body panels. So my plan is front fenders, hood, and rear bed sides. I already put a little bit in the tailgate, and that actually made a difference when I put the tailgate panel in. Obviously, I couldn't hear it inside the truck, but just opening and closing the tailgate made a difference. So what I'm going to do now is put a very small amount of Dynamat and Dynaliner on the hood, fenders, rear bedside, and we're going to drive it on the freeway and use the same app I used to read the sound decibels and see if it made a difference or not. That way you can know if it's worth it or not to use some extra material on the exterior. I never really found a lot of people doing this, but I'm not going to go crazy with the Dynamat. We don't want to add a bunch of weight to the hood, especially because you have to open it and put a prop on, at least on this second gen, because we don't have hood shocks. If you do have hood shocks, if you add too much weight, it might not go up with the shock because it's not valved for that much weight. Now I want you to hear what I hear and what gave me this crazy idea. So this is going to be a non-treated fender. Now this one sounds a little bit more rigid because we do have the C4 fender liners that have a rubber gasket pressing against it. So this one isn't too bad, but check out this hood, which has zero sound deadening. It is just hollow sounding inside compared to a door that's been fully treated. Rear door, bedside. So this has a little bit of rigidity because we do have the bedside stiffener to keep it from flapping, but it is very hollow sounding. Now I did add some, and we're talking like 20% of coverage. You can tell that that's been treated. So we're gonna go ahead and do the rest of the truck and see if it makes a difference on the freeway. We are losing a little bit of daylight, but now that you've seen my methods, we are going to go ahead and just do the rest of the hood. I'm not going to bore you with it, but it's the same process that you just saw with these two pieces, and then we'll jump onto some of the other body panels. It's a new day today, and before we continue with the rest of the truck, I wanted to just show you the final product for placement of the Dynamat under the hood. If you see all of the spots with black, there's Dynamat underneath that and then Dynaliner on top of that. So that black is the Dynaliner. And I only did it on small portions of the inserts on the hood. Some people have cut out the entire insert. I just feel like that's way too much and it would add too much weight. This was just like maybe 2 pounds, 3 pounds tops of material. And it's more than enough to dampen all the resonance. Now there is some resonance on the structure, but there's only so much you can do, and I don't want to just plaster this with material, so I'm gonna leave it as is. If I happen to come across anything that still makes quite a bit of noise, we'll address it, but I'm like fairly confident this is the final product of the hood. Now that the hood is done, we're going to jump onto the back of the truck. We do need to do the fenders in the front, but I want to get this done right now because it's a bigger panel and it's going to take more time. We're just going to do a square here, maybe a longer strip there. Keep it simple but effective. A while back I did a video installing a snail armor tailgate panel. If you haven't watched it, you can check it out at the end. I'll put it at the end of the video. But when I did that install, I was able to see the inner skin of the tailgate, and I put on some sound deadening at that time. So in this video, I'm not going to do it because it's already done, but it did make a difference. This thing is nice and solid. I'll put it up on the left right here. Basically, it's me cutting out some square pads, putting it all across the tailgate, and putting Dynaliner on top of the Dynamat after it's all been rolled. Essentially looking just like the hood. I even put a few smaller pieces on this because it's aluminum. So, you know, facing the inside, we did some smaller pieces of Dynamat. And in between the bed and this aluminum panel, I put some small strips of Dynaliner to prevent any vibrations. The last thing I did was there are some rods that go from left to right to the tailgate handle, and they sit in the plastic clip. If you grab that rod, it moves. It has a lot of movement and it makes a lot of noise. So I got some 1/2-inch Dynaliner, and it's basically just a really big cushion of foam, and I stuck it onto the metal part of the tailgate, and the rod slides on that. So it just adds pressure to the rod, but it doesn't pop it out of the white clip, and it prevents all that rattle. So I'm going to drop the tailgate and we're going to close it so you can hear the difference. So that's dropped down. We'll close it. Closing it makes the most noise. And that's it. So a lot of difference on the tailgate alone. My thought process on this project is anything outside the cab that we could reduce will ultimately make the cab quieter, and we'll know when we get out onto the freeway and do the dB test. I'm losing daylight quickly these days, but this is the sound after we've put the Dynamat and the Dynaliner on the bedside. So yes, at the end you did see me put a little bit in the gas cap area. Surprisingly, it was pretty loud, but now it's much more tame, and that's really all we're looking for in this project. We're not doing crazy amounts of coverage, just enough to quiet down that panel and reduce the resonance. Just to speed up the process, I already did the passenger side, but I wanted to show you that I did add a little 4-inch by 5-inch tall piece right here. The other side had the gas cap and it's stamped, so the metal's rigid, so I just put some Dynaliner in the gas cap lid because it was pretty loud. But since we don't have any of that right here, I just put a little piece right there. But these are going to be the same measurements for both sides. Moving over to the front, now that the daylight's all gone, I'm going to time-lapse this. I do need to remove the aluminum fender liner that I installed quite a while ago. So that one is the C4 Fab aluminum liner, which I do have a video on my channel for. So I could also link that at the end of the video. But I'm going to put just a little bit of sound deadening on here as well. I mean, this follows the same process as the rest of the project, where it's just a single sheet of metal and it kind of makes a little bit of noise, but I'm not going to go crazy and do the whole entire thing, but we'll put a small patch right here and then on the same right here and on the front as well. But I do have to remove it so that way we can get access to this upper portion of the fender. Before this tape lets go, I'm going to show you what I'm doing for the fender. I did ceramic coat the truck, so that tape is not holding on very good at all. But this is my plan. That center strip will be a little bit lower, but I just had to tape it up that high just to get to grip over the fender itself. And then we're gonna do a little bit of some Dynamat in that corner just to give that fender as much protection as we can. Of course, it will be covered with Dynaliner as well, but it's way too tight in there for me to show you. So this is just going to be a visual from the outside. And if we're looking right here, we have the front portion of the C4 liner, and that's going to be the rear. That will be getting Dynamated, as well as some Dynaliner put on top. So we're going to jump straight to that after I get this installed. That is the last panel complete. That concludes my exterior panel sound deadening project. We'll have to take it out on the freeway and see if it does anything at all. Fingers crossed that it does. And we'll close the hood. Nice and solid. Ready for a test drive. All right, so we are just about to get on the freeway right here. You do hear the fan when it's engaged at lower speeds like normal, but the tire noise seems to be down quite a bit. So it'll be a little loud till we get to speed, but once we get to speed, we'll be able to tell if it's reduced the sound or not using this NIOSH app on the dash. So right now we're registering at like 68 dB, which before I did the exterior panels, we were at 75. So that is a huge difference. Let's see if it'll get any louder. Yeah, right now the dB is at 70.5. So we've gone down an incredible amount by doing this project, which is really mind-blowing because that's almost more effective than actually doing the inside of the cab. Now that we're back from the test drive, you guys heard it just as well as I did. The dB readings are way quieter from just doing exterior panels than I would have ever imagined. When we left off this sound deadening project the last time, we had done the roof, the floor, the doors, and the back cab, and that brought things down to 75.7 dB. Now, under the same testing circumstances, we're at 70.5, so a huge difference in overall noise levels inside the cab. What I noticed the most personally, and something you might not be able to catch on camera, is the tire noise. It's not gone by any means, but it's a lot more subtle, more mellow. MTs are loud. These are a couple years old, so they're not the softest. They're getting a little harder, and you can hear an MT. The older it gets, the louder it gets for sure. But yeah, just way more subtle. You don't hear the engine as much as far as vibrations go because we got all that under control. I can't really honestly say I hear a whole lot in the back as far as the difference goes, but I'm sure that the bed sides and the tailgate are all adding up to just a huge level in dB reductions. Now, what I was thinking was, is it worth it to just do exterior panels by itself because it was such a big difference? Or should you do the inside because you're kind of enclosing yourself and that'll make a big difference in itself? And my answer is, I think they both complement each other. I don't know if you would get the same results by just doing the exterior panels on your car if you haven't done the inside. And obviously I just did the inside and I never did the exterior panels. And now that I did, I feel like they both complement each other and just bring noises down to incredibly low levels. Levels I didn't think were gonna be attainable, especially with MTs. So do with it what you will. That was just extra material from the initial sound deadening project. When I did the entire cab, we did 1 bulk pack and 1 mega pack of Dynamat. And so this project was just extras from that. I used maybe 1 sheet of 1/8 inch Dynaliner and then 1/2 inch Dynaliner on the Fender liners and 1/4 inch Dynaliner on the backside of the Fender liners. So those were all scraps from the initial project. If you had to buy stuff to just do this, I mean, it wouldn't be that much in materials for sure. Either way, I don't know if I would recommend one or the other. If you've already done the inside of the cab, that's gonna be number 1 in my opinion to do first. And then if you want to go ahead and tackle it, I did about 8.5 hours on the exterior panels. So if you watch my other videos, I did 100 hours of the interior as far as tearing everything apart and doing all that. So 8.5 hours on the exterior panels, really not that much at all. Just do it a little bit after work, a couple hours a day, and knock it out.